Tell me about us. How did we meet?
Hey!
I'm Adam.
Charlotte.
Isabelle, it's great to see you again. Mena and Gabby, it's great to meet you both and to talk about this film. I mean, it is so powerful. It is so moving. I watched it yesterday before speaking with Julia, and you are all incredible in it. Gabby, I'd actually like to start with you first, because one thing Julia mentioned was that you were the one who sent her this book with the hope of her directing it. And I'd love to hear, you're obviously also a producer and star on this film, but what about the book spoke to you that Julia would be the perfect person to helm this?
Well, I've been a big fan of Julia's since I was a young girl. I remember when I was moving high schools from Long Island to Manhattan, my mother was like, well, Julia Stiles went to the professional children's school. And I was like, I want to go there. That's where you are sending me, please. So I think that there's just no one better to tell a female heroine story. A strong woman who who takes risks and does what her heart wants. And we see that with Charlotte, especially by the end of the film. She's resilient in saying to her family, to her best friend, to her brother, this is what I'm doing. This is the decision I want to make. And I just felt like you needed someone strong to really be the lens for us as an audience to see this come to life. And I just thought Julia was perfect in every way, shape, and form. And to be able to selfishly work with her as an actor, as a producer, have one of my favorite actors in the world teach me how to do this. It was a dream come true.
I love that. And so, Isabelle, I'll turn to you next, because on the note of Julia as well, obviously you're just coming off of having worked with her on Orphan. And I know that she mentioned she was sort of developing the script while working on that. What was it like for you making that flip from sharing the screen with her to then experiencing her as a director?
We bonded so much making Orphan because the whole world was shut down, and we were like sitting in these like tents in the middle of the sound stage, and like Julie was the only person I was really able to talk to, and we really bonded about so many different things. And she was working on the script at the time, and I was so grateful when she sent it to me and was like, I'd love you to read it and maybe be Charlotte. And I had never actually been offered a role like this this is my first time playing, a lead in a romance film. And I was really honored that she wanted people to see me in the way that she got to know me, not just in the way that people have seen me on screen.
That's so sweet.
And she said that to me. Yeah. And I was like Gabby, I mean, I grew up watching Julia. Like, I'm one of her biggest fans. She's such an icon. And what's crazy is when you meet her, she's so normal.
Down to earth.
I don't think she realizes how many people look up to her or have grown up watching her and like just literally adore her. And she's
so extremely humble.
So extremely humble.
Yeah.
And getting to work with her in this capacity was such a gift every single day. She really thrives behind the camera too. I mean, she's an incredible actress, but what I loved was the way that she would find ways to play with lines. She would come and give us notes and like, oh, I have an idea. And, oh, I have this. And you see how excited that she got about every single aspect of making this movie, from like the lines in the script to where the camera was positioned to things that we could add to make it more fun. Like when Gabby and I were working in that restaurant, I mean, there were so many things we were messing with, like those flags, that like slow motion shot. I remember I filmed that on my phone, and she was like, we got to film something like that. It felt like a really collaborative, playful experience. And I know throughout all of post-production, like she's really just loved every single moment of it. So I know that this is her first, but this is definitely not going to be her last.
No way.
Editorial film. She really is a fantastic director, one of my favorites I've ever worked with. I feel very lucky that she chose me to be the lead of her first film.
I'm so glad that she did, but I'm also so glad that it was a dream experience and that it won't be her last, because it is, like I said, I'm not blowing smoke. I truly do love this film, and I think she did an incredible job with it. So for this next question, Mena, if you'd like to start, and then Isabelle, I love that you also have Renee having co-written this film, and it's, not often that we get an author being such a big part of an adaptation of their work. How much did you find you each were able to pick their brain about, your characters and the romance and sort of the way their lives play out?
I spoke to her very briefly, but I had read the book not too long before we started, and so I understood the story well, and I understood Renee. I felt like I understood Renee because of reading the book so close to shooting the film. But I got to ask her a little bit, and Julia had talked to her about Adam and kind of, gave me those notes and that info. So yeah, it did feel like we were working with her closely. She came to set a couple of times. I met her once and got to talk to her a little bit. And so I think we did the characters justice. I hope we did. And I think Renee is very happy with it. It's always hard taking a novel and making it into a movie, because a novel, you've got the freedom to just tell the story with such intimate details. In a film, you're limited by time, but by a lot of different aspects of it. But what was important to us, or what was important to me, was to take the heart of it. Like, who is this guy at his heart? What are the scenes that we're shooting, and how can we tell the story in a streamlined way? So, I hope we did that. And Renee, I think, is I don't want to say an underrated writer, but she doesn't get as much credit sometimes, because some of her books, like this is a USA Today bestseller, this novel, and she has some other incredible books as well.
I really loved reading the book in preparation for this, because I felt like it gave me such a jumping off point into Charlotte. I mean, I've known what I've wanted to do since I was a kid, which is a very rare experience. And being able to sit with the book really allowed me to kind of marinate on this. In this place, I feel like so many people find themselves in, where you're not really sure what you want to do and where you want to go. And your parents, you have one parent who's telling you that you need to have direction in life, and you have the other parent being like, well, she doesn't need direction if she can find someone to take care of her, and it's not us. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of people can relate to that. And her kind of, being sure that she wants to figure it out, but unsure of how to do so. I think I mined a lot of information from the book. Like Mena said, I met Renee when she came on set, and I was just really grateful that she was as excited that Julia had cast me in it as Julia had been, which was really great, because I had never met her. So it made me feel much more secure about, what I was doing. And I think, she was there for some of our scenes that were more, emotional and things like that. And I felt like she was really grateful to see that. And like Mena said, you're taking a book, a couple 100-page book, and you're putting it down into a script, and you're trying to fit everything in. So it's really finding the core of who these people are and just finding a way to translate it through the story. And I feel like the messages of the film are the same as the book. And that's because, Julia and Renee collaborated on that,
I remember when Renee finally agreed to meet with me back in, I want to say 2018 or 2019. And I could tell her every single page of the book. And she was like, you know this book more than I do. I haven't looked at it since I, sent it to the publisher. And I think authors, I'm not an author, but I assume that, once they close that chapter, they're on to their next bestseller. And I think also by reinvigorating her, got her excited to collaborate with Julia and working, and they would have Zooms and calls, and the producers would be on. And it was just such a fun experience to take exactly a 350-page book into a 90-page screenplay. It takes effort, and they did an incredible job.
That effort really does show, and I can't wait for this to really help, like Mena was saying, really put the spotlight on Renee going forward and more of her books. I see I'm coming close to time, so I did want to also ask you, Isabelle, really quickly. Last we spoke was for Horizon. I'm still anxiously waiting for Chapter 2's release. Have you heard any updates on when that might be coming?
I believe it's coming pretty soon. I think they're kind of massaging what's going on with it, but I actually... as of now, I haven't heard anything. Actors are usually the last to know in these sorts of things. But I was really fortunate that we got to premiere it at Venice and got to see it with an audience. And that was the first time I had seen the movie. And it was great. I'm really excited for people to see it. But this movie, to me, is so exciting that Wish You Were Here is coming out, because it is a film that I feel like we all put so much heart and passion into. We worked so hard on it together. And we really fell in love as a cast and a crew. And I really hope that people take away this message of hope from this movie, this message of really loving the people that you have in your life and holding them close for as long as you have with them. I think this is a movie that you can go to the theater. Mena said this earlier, and just like let it all out and cry. And I think that we need something like that right now.
Yeah, those are rare. Those films are rare.
So yeah, we're really, really proud to put this film out.
Amen, baby.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more. It's also just a visually beautiful film to look at, and I really can't wait for people to experience it and for me to get the word out about it. So thank you all so much for taking the time. I truly do appreciate it. It's been a great time chatting with all of you.
Thank you, Brad.
It really doesn't matter what happens next. You are my perfect right now.